Pastor Matt Smuts, the senior pastor here at Grace, and we're excited to have you with us. This last fall, we celebrated our 70th anniversary as a congregation, as we sit in this sanctuary that is just over 60 years old, remembering the placement of the organ 50 years ago. And so we are glad that you are here to celebrate with us. A couple of quick notes. I will say nothing about the concert or the instrument because I suspect that that's all on Tim's list of things to communicate about. I will point out, though, that there's this nifty QR code. Who knew that those would survive 5 years ago, right? And yet here they are. So this is a good way to give towards the music fund. It pulls up a text message and you just send it, and then you choose the music fund to give. It's very straightforward. If that's a little too newfangled for you, we have an offering plate in the center of the aisle by the baptismal font, and you can put cash or a check in there. The proceeds from today go towards our music fund. So welcome. We are glad you are here, and enjoy the concert.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome to the 50th birthday party for this wonderful pipe organ. I want to welcome everybody who is here in person, and a special welcome also to everyone who is watching us online today. And welcome to our special guests. We have at least one former Grace organist out here in the crowd, and we have one or two members of the original organ committee here. So it's all very exciting. Today's recital comes exactly 50 years to the day since the dedication recital was played on this organ. The contract for this instrument was signed early in 1971. It was installed in December of that year, and the inaugural recital was February 6th, 1972. The recital was played by Roger Nyquist, who at the time was organist at Santa Clara University and also at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in San Jose, where there is another instrument quite like this one, but a little bit larger. And I am replicating Roger Nyquist's program almost identically today. Our organ was built by a manufacturer in the French-speaking part of Canada, Casavant Frères of Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec. And so it is appropriate that this piece begins with two French pieces. We just heard the Improvisation number 7 by Camille Saint-Saëns, written in about 1917. Our next piece is Le Banquet Céleste, or The Heavenly Banquet, by Olivier Messiaen. This piece was written in 1928, only about a decade later than the first piece we heard, but their styles could not be more different. Saint-Saëns comes at the conclusion of the 19th century symphonic tradition, and Messiaen is avant-garde. If you're not used to hearing Messiaen, you may have trouble finding any melody in this piece, or feeling like it really goes anywhere. The tempo marking is extremely slow, and indeed, the 25 measures of this piece will take about 7 minutes to play. This music is all about color and mood. You have to imagine yourself in an immense French cathedral, and the sounds you are hearing are not so much music as they are ambient sound. If stone walls and stained glass with shifting patterns of light and color could make a sound, this would be it. The music is highly contemplative. If you find your mind wandering or maybe even getting a little sleepy, that may be exactly the point. Here is Le Banquet Céleste. You will be either disappointed or greatly relieved to know that the one alteration I have made to Nyquist's 1972 program is that I have elected not to include a second piece by Olivier Messiaen. Next on the original program was Messiaen's Serene Alleluias from a Soul Yearning from Heaven. I decided early on in my preparations for this recital that this piece would have taken me longer to learn to play than I had time for, and also this program works perfectly well without it. If you would like to hear more Messiaen someday, let me know, and I will put Serene Alleluias on my to-do list. And so now we turn to the German Baroque and to three pieces based on Lutheran hymns. The first is a fugue by Johann Sebastian Bach, based on the first phrase of Martin Luther's paraphrase of the Nicene Creed, Wir glauben all an einen Gott. We all believe in one true God. The first phrase of the hymn goes like this. Bach made that opening line slightly fancier and made it into the theme of his fugue. This hymn is seldom sung today, although it is in our hymnal and is familiar to some congregations. You will see the hymn number for this and each of the next two selections in your program if you'd like to take a look in the book. In Bach's day, though, this hymn was sung every Sunday as the creed to the service, and Bach's congregation probably would have recognized it immediately when they heard this. This fugue also has a second theme, which to me sounds like the believer striding boldly forward in faith. Listen to how both of these two themes, the first phrase of Wir glauben all an einen Gott and the bold walking figure, intertwine throughout this wonderful composition. Johann Sebastian Bach's Wir glauben all an einen Gott. The next piece is also Bach and also based on a hymn. This one we do sing every year during Advent, Savior of the Nations Come. Here you need to listen quite a bit harder for the melody. The piece is written as a solo melody over an accompaniment, and the whole tune is there this time, not just the first phrase, but here Bach has decided to go all out with the ornamentation to the point where you will likely no longer be able to recognize the tune. Listen very carefully each time the solo voice comes in, and you might be able to pick out a couple notes of the melody. Whether you find the tune or not, I think this piece captures perfectly the deep longing and sense of wonder expressed by the words of this hymn. Savior of the nations, come. Virgin's Son, make here your home. Marvel now, O heaven and earth, God has chosen such a birth. idea for this 50th anniversary recital came about. One day during the pandemic, when not much of anything at all was happening here at the church, I was browsing through a stack of old photo directories, just for fun and curiosity and to laugh at old hairdos. But what should fall out from a photo directory was a newspaper clipping from the Palo Alto Times, which included a full review of the dedicatory recital in 1972. This is certainly something that certainly would not happen today. All of the pieces were listed in order with the usual comments about the reviewer's impressions of each piece and the way it was played. The newspaper reviewer's favorite piece was the next one, Johann Pachelbel's 9 variations on another German hymn, Was Gott tut, das ist wohlgetan, or What God ordains is good indeed. What she particularly liked was how each of the 9 variations gave the organist an opportunity to show off another color possibility on the new organ. And she loved playing with the title of this hymn, as she proclaimed that what Pachelbel had done was good indeed, and the way Nyquist played it was good indeed. I will do my best to live up to their standards. Johann Pachelbel was born about a generation earlier than Bach in 1653. Pachelbel's music is lovely and interesting, but overall simpler in composition than Bach's. In this chorale partita, you should be able to identify the tune much more clearly than you could in the previous piece by Bach. And Pachelbel's music also makes less use of the pedals. In fact, the feet play in only one of the 9 variations. Here is Johann Pachelbel's chorale and 9 variations on Was Gott tut, das ist wohlgetan. Did you count to 9 variations? Did you get there at the same time I did? You may be curious about this little display on the top of the organ console. We have some artificial flowers and a sloth who also happens to be artificial as far as I know. It shouldn't surprise you to know that over the course of 50 years, this organ has been through a lot. So there are some water rings and mysteriously a large burn mark that no one has ever fessed up to on the top of the console. And when we started live streaming during the pandemic, people noticed that the top of the console didn't look so good, so I received the gift of first the artificial flowers and later on the sloth. Artificial is good because it's very cold in here during the week. I am also the type of person who does not remember to water plants, not to mention that there should not be water on top of the console anyway. The sloth is our choir mascot. For years, I have purchased a wall calendar on which I ask our choir members to put their names if they're going to be absent from rehearsals or on Sundays. It's just a low-pressure attendance-taking system. I used to always just get any old calendar that looked somewhat interesting, and one year I got a sloth-themed calendar. Well, the choir loved it. We took to referring to absent members who put their names in the calendar as the sloths, and at this point people would be disappointed if I ever got any calendar other than a sloth calendar. The sloth who lives here on the organ was a gift just this past Christmas. Okay, back to the music. We'll take the next 2 pieces as a set. 2 pieces by American composers that were new pieces at the time of the 1972 recital. First, we have an Adagio by the performer of the recital, Roger Nyquist. This piece was written in 1965. And the second is a favorite frequently played by church organists, the Prelude in Classic Style by Gordon Young from 1966. Nyquist's piece is a lovely, gentle aria played on the flute stops of the organ, and Gordon Young's prelude is lively and joyous. wasn't going to talk about this next bit originally, but then as a few people who were coming in, who were around in 1971, reminded me, they wanted to talk about the fact that this organ was very controversial when it was installed. The contract price was $35,000, and that just seemed so ridiculously high at that time that I'm led to understand that people actually left the church at that time. And I know that the vote on the council to approve the organ was very, very close. I think we can all say the organ has served for 50 years in fantastic condition. This congregation has gotten a lot of use out of it every single Sunday, and we're glad that they put $35,000 into it at that time. A little side note to that is there was also an imports tax placed on anything brought in from out of the country at the end of 1971, and they were saddled with an additional $3,500 cost they hadn't anticipated at the very end, but they raised the money and they did it. Just by way of contrast, if we were to purchase a similarly sized instrument today of this same quality, it would probably cost us between $800,000 and $1 million. So that $35,000 was well spent. We're already at the end of the recital. Before we finish today, I would like to join Pastor Matt in inviting you to consider making a donation to Grace's Music Fund. This fund allows us to pay for items needed for our music program that may not be fully funded in the budget. And it also funds expenses for special musical events like this one. You can give by leaving cash or check at the back of the church, in the offering plates, or online by aiming your phone camera at that handy QR code. And if you're watching online, you can return to the main page of the website, gracepa.org, and find the button that says Give a Gift. I also want to invite those of you who are here to join us after the program on the patio outside for some food and drink and conversation. I want to thank Tilman Wekel and his crew for preparing the treats today, which I know will be wonderful. I want to thank our pastors, Matt Smuts and Friederike Wekel, for their support in everything they've done today and always. To Gretchen Rao for making the beautiful programs and the publicity work. And really, I think my biggest thanks of all are to my pal right up here next to me in the organ loft, Andrew Mellows, who is the master of all things audiovisual. So he set up the camera, screen, and microphone so that you who are here in person downstairs can see me upstairs. He is also operating the live stream for people who are watching at home. He just passed me a note and lets me know that there are 30 people watching at home. And I'm sure there will also be an edited recording on YouTube in no time. So thanks a lot, Andrew, for everything. And finally, thanks to all of you for coming. Your presence, whether in person or online, means everything to me. And I'll finish today with the jubilant Rondo in G, written by the American composer Richard Ellsasser. It was fashionable for a time in the mid-20th century to attribute music to other composers as a way of attracting audiences' interest and maybe to add a little bit of imagined historic luster. In this case, Richard Ellsasser attributed his composition to the 16th century English composer John Bull. We don't really know. Well, we do know who wrote it. It was Richard Ellsasser. But no matter who wrote it, it's good fun. So let's hear this last piece, and then I will see you outside.